Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to today's session. So today we're going to be looking at personal development with Promise Ahante. Promise is the communications chair of the Society of Petroleum Engineers, London, and then he's also a graduate of Imperial College, which he finished with distinction. Very important to state that. And Promise has like a wealth of experience I feel that he can draw from. So hopefully this session will be very interactive and insightful as well. So yeah, the floor is yours, Promise.
Thank you, Kidera. So for anyone who has just joined us, just before you joined or as you joined, you would notice I was interacting with Blessing. And it was really nice in the sense that I am now thinking that we would spend most of our time on this session interacting so I can get to hear specific things about what you guys are doing or coming here to do. So the information I'll be giving you will be very tailored. But before we get to that, thank you, Chidera, for the introduction. Thank you to the CP community for having me. It's a pleasure to be spending the next 1 hour with you. And I hope you would find this session valuable. My name is Promise. If I would describe myself in one word, it's jovial. And why I'm saying that is throughout this session, it is a workshop, but feel free to see it as a discussion between, CP community and yourself. The one thing I like about the CP community, which hopefully you like too, is this platform it gives you guys. Of course, someone like me, someone like Clara was in your shoes, whatever many years ago, to really interact with people who have done what you're about to do now or that have gone the path you are about to undertake. So please feel free to cut in, jump in anytime, raise your hand, even if I'm not seeing because my screen is being, in presenter mode, someone would call my attention to it. I would stop whatever I'm saying, listen to you, whatever question you have or what you have to say. Meanwhile, if you could please do what's on the screen right now, which is go to menti.com. This is the code and just tell me whatever, one word, a trait, a definition, what does personal development planning mean to you? I don't have an answer. I don't have a definition on my slide. And this is the only way we would be able to define it before we progress, just to be sure we're on the same page. And the reason why I don't have a definition or why I didn't think it was important was I want us to see that even though we are all very different, hopefully we would all come up with something similar. There's no one answer, but I just want to know what personal development planning means to you. So like I said, use a sentence, use a word, maybe it's a trait, say proactivity, like I was telling Blessing, or being deliberate, anything, whatever you want to define it as, put it there. I would assume anyone who wants to participate has gotten the code. So I would exit my screen now and go over to, where I have your answers.
Promise.
Yep.
Do you want to hold on? Let me just take a picture so I can put it in the chat as well. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I can carry on. Thank
you. Meanwhile, the time is, 5:07 now. It's a 1 hour session. And the plan I have is to spend about 20 minutes speaking. And then we would spend the rest of that, maybe 30 minutes interacting. So questions and answers, basically. So yeah, we have one person who has said, excuse me, it means taking time out to create a roadmap for the goals you want to achieve. Fantastic. I 100% agree. And if we don't have any other definition, that's fine. We can work with this. So the important thing to note is, the taking out time, which is, look at conscious activities, which is basically taking out time to do stuff. So being deliberate, being conscious about the roadmap and the goals you want to achieve, continuous activities that lead to personal growth. So what we're saying is there is an end we are starting from. There's the personal growth we want to achieve, or here for the first definition, there are some goals we want to achieve. And then in order to get to that end goal, we are taking time out or we are, getting involved in conscious activities to help us get there. And that's perfect. That's what brings in the planning into personal development. So personal development would be, whatever develops you personally. It could be related to you as a person, your well-being, your health, your fitness, your relationships, your academics, your career, what have you. But then the planning part is that's taking out time, conscious activities, those steps you take to get there. So now we'll head back to our presentation and, have a good go. So yes, this is personal development planning, maximizing your time as an international student in the UK. So we are tailoring that message, those definitions you've given me, to this focus area, how you can use that to maximize your time as an international student in the UK. So like I said, what I would plan to do is to first share my experience, and hopefully you would not be surprised because there was a poll that Shidera conducted in which, most people share that they would rather hear from my experiences, and I would highlight some specific actions I took that I believed worked. I would also mention maybe some things that may make sense to do, but I did not do, or some things I considered doing, but did not work. And I dropped, so I learned from. And then I would also talk about some tools which I would share here that you can use, some practical things you can do, or some tools you can do to carry on those activities. So about me, no offense, I would ramble about myself for the next 10, 15 minutes. It might be a bit show-offy. I promise you it's not. The intention is for you to, get whatever message, filter out whatever, inspiration, whatever lessons you want to take from my journey, which, like I said, is almost exactly the same thing you did coming here to the UK to study. So filter out, take out the things you want, apply them to your own life and your own experience, and move on, throw away the other stuff that might sound nice or show-offy. So anyway, I started my own journey September 2019. I was fortunate to get the SPDC scholarship to come to the UK to study MSc in Petroleum Engineering at Imperial College London. Wonderful. My first degree was also in Petroleum and Gas Engineering. I'm from Delta State, so the SPDC scheme, for anyone who is aware about it, is a specific scheme for people from Niger Delta communities. So I was fortunate to get on this program, came here with that mindset of, this being a leap to help me, pilot myself in my career as a petroleum engineer. However, even before coming to the United Kingdom, one thing I really wanted to do was to supplement whatever academic experience I would have with something beneficial to my personal developments. I was always involved in something called the Society of Petroleum Engineers. So that's the flagship association for petroleum engineers or even energy engineers globally. It's like the biggest, independent body, I think, for engineers. And I was part of that in my undergrad, and I really wanted to be part of that when I got here. I did not just want to be part of it, I wanted to lead the Imperial College chapter as its president. Yes, I was already thinking about this before I left Nigeria. In fact, once I got my visa. And why I'm mentioning this is for you to see that planning part of personal development planning. And so some of the things I did, some simple things, which is, I reached out to the person who was the current president at the time, some lady called Elizaveta Polyakova. She's Russian, studying petroleum engineering at Imperial 2018. And why that was helpful for me was it gave me an idea of what was going on in Imperial SPE, what maybe challenges they were facing, what was working well. And that helped me build what would turn out to be my manifesto that would help me win the hearts, hopefully, of 45 international diverse students that don't know me before. Um, and so I got to the UK, and in October 2019, I became the president of SP Imperial College, which was amazing, by the way. Some other things I did, which I also want to share to show you how negligible they are, but how they've contributed to me achieving this 1 month only after arriving in the UK, was something as simple as this: creating a WhatsApp group. It sounds, I don't know how it sounds, but yes, this was a deliberate step I took. Immediately I came to the UK, created a WhatsApp group for my class. So every petroleum engineering master student that was coming to Imperial. And the idea was to give them a platform to interact, share information, just like the CP platform for students coming to the UK or students already in the UK, create something that's beneficial to people that they could share information about struggles, struggles in terms of coming to the UK from wherever country, finding their foots immediately in terms of where to go for classes, the timetables, when companies are coming around, and so on and so forth. And so just by that action, I was already showing leadership. And I think this contributed to how my classmates saw me. Something else I did was something as simple as outlining the goals I had, which you would think it's a no-brainer, right? But I had 4 people who wanted to be presidents just like me, and no other person did this. So again, that just shows the planning part to the personal development. So I was very deliberate about planning and sharing my plan with my class in terms of why I wanted to be their president, the agenda I had, and why I felt I was qualified for it and how I wanted to go about achieving it. So maybe they made the right decision to vote me in as their president. But even if they didn't feel like they made the right decision at that time, a couple of months later, I'm sure they did feel like they made the right decision, because for the first time ever, the Society of Petroleum Engineers, Imperial College London, went on to win something called the Presidential Award for Outstanding Students chapter. And that was under my leadership. Some Nigerian boy from nowhere that has never left Nigeria before until 2019 going to the UK under a scholarship. And that was very important because it was a milestone for the university. I had people from Shell reaching out to me because, Imperial reached out to Shell to say, hey, look at what your scholar did. I had people featuring me in magazines in the UK, within the energy community, just because of how prestigious this award was. But again, tying this to the purpose of this workshop, bringing in the planning to personal development, this did not just happen. I was very deliberate in how I led my team, in how we planned all the activities and projects we embarked on before getting to the point of winning this award. And I'll show you a simple example here, which is this. This is a flyer from sometime January or so last year. And as you can see, what this flyer shows is when this was made, I and my team already knew what we wanted to do, throughout our tenure. That's how deliberate in our planning we were. So we already knew that, we wanted to go see some carbon capture and storage facility. We wanted to go speak to kids in primary schools, and so on and so forth. And you can also imagine that the way all this were planned very much further into the future, that's the same attention and the same deliberacy we applied to planning each and every one to make sure, they were successful. And so that's something you can also take away in anything you are doing, of course, if you can be that proactive in looking very far ahead, however far, however near, but just taking that time to plan things out. I think that would be beneficial. And then I continued my journey as a UK student, and the next big milestone was getting a distinction in my MSc. I mean, I could share a lot of things about what I think helped me, but I don't think I have to, because for you all coming to the UK to study, I imagine you already have some sort of awareness about, academic excellence. That's the only reason I think you would even consider coming to study here. Of course, besides the other big benefits of coming to study here, I don't think you'll be struggling in terms of, how to get good grades and things like that. So the only thing I would say about this is the knowledge you have, how good of a student you are, or whatever the case may be. Now is even the time to be more deliberate about what you want to achieve and the steps you take to get there. One example I will share, excuse me, for this slide is something I heard when coming here, which is how there was some past scholar in my scheme who, they came here, things were very difficult in the beginning. You get very overwhelmed if you have a very strenuous program. There are some programs where you have classes maybe every day. Some you have classes just once a week or something. So the person got carried away with, all the activities going on. You come to this environment, it's massive, the fun things to do, the academic requirements or demands from your coursework. And so you may not pay attention to things like assignments, things that are not examinations. If it's test, in my university, we don't do tests anyway, but coursework, assignments, and so on and so forth, it's easy to get carried away and put them off. but that's the one example I'll share with you. I didn't. So I had that awareness from, learning from those who had gone before me. And what I'm trying to show here is for every coursework I did, however unimportant they were, and yes, I do think they were unimportant because I mean, it depends on your university. The way my uni works, our coursework are all one exam on its own. So for example, well test analysis, if I just change this to a pointer. For example, well test analysis coursework does not count towards my well test analysis exam. So well test analysis coursework, production logging coursework would all marry themselves under one grade, basically. So even though it was seemingly unimportant, from the get-go, I already knew that I had to, getting 91 and 99 would come to help me later in terms of patching my grades. And so that's one thing I wanted to share with you. And I mean, there are loads of other things that help me in terms of getting a distinction, understanding and finding a balance between my study time, how different it might be from what I was used to back home. But that's about the distinction. Moving on, towards the end of my degree, by the way, it's raining here. I hope my sound quality feels very good and you can hear the rain in the background.
Yeah, it's still good.
All right, great. So moving on, towards the end of my degree, there's one other milestone I wanted to share, getting something called the Imperial Award and the Black Impact UK Awards. Now, these awards were basically for things beyond academic excellence. So things like leadership, and so on and so forth. And if you put it together, you can tell that my activities with, for example, the SP were what led me here. And so that's deliberate action of participating in extracurriculars, of participating in things beyond just, smashing my coursework, which is always a good thing to do. It's always a good thing. I mean, back home, they would always sing how, don't pass through the university, let the university pass through you, and all those things. Get involved in things. That's the reason why you're coming to this international environment anyway. If you can't handle it, you can always find a balance. So I'm always a preacher of getting involved in things beyond your grades. You would get your grades, that's it, everyone will get good grades. But if you can do so much more that would impact yourself, and if you can impact other people beyond your academic pursuits, that's a bonus. And so that was how it so happened for me that deliberately deciding to be part of the SP and to lead the SP and all the various nice activities we did led me to winning something called the Imperial Award, which, by the way, maybe only one out of 1,000 Imperial students gets. I was basically the only one in my department who got this. And the Black Impact UK Awards, which was launched for the first time in 2020, every university in the United Kingdom, shining light on Black students who have achieved a couple of things. By the way, this is currently on. If you go on Google, you would see much more about them. And I got the opportunity through the Black Impact Awards to be invited to the UK House of Lords. So that's like our parliament. We have the lower House of Commons and then the upper House of Lords. And I was invited by some Lord Simon Woolley to the House of Lords. So again, this is just to show how some little things you do deliberately in one regard can lead you to greater things in a separate regard. And then moving on, this year, in fact, not so long ago, I became the communications chair of that SP. So again, you can see how my experiences are trickling down. Conscious decision to become president in Imperial. After Imperial, I was done my master's, say September last year. I decided to still volunteer with the wider London. So we have London section, and then we have all the universities under London. So I decided to not leave it there. I decided to volunteer with them, and along the way, perhaps they were impressed with what I was doing and they decided to put me on their board. Youngest person on the board, my first ever board role in anything, the only Black person on the board, if that's important to you. And I guess the message is there's really no ceiling to what we can achieve when we apply things like personal development planning. And then also around the same time, which is just this month, still in July, yeah. Yeah, so I received my offer maybe in February, and I recently joined the Bank of England as a data analyst. I would focus on this slide maybe for 2 minutes just to, again, share some examples of how planning came into, personal development to land me in the Bank of England. By the way, the Bank of England is like the central bank of the entire United Kingdom. So, I mean, I've not even been able to put this on my LinkedIn because it's such a big deal. And I mean, when you come here, you would realize that the UK has like 3 pillars, or we 4 now, that hold things together. There's the M16, which is our secret service. There's HRM, Her Royal Majesty, HMT Treasury. There is the Bank of England, and there is, I've forgotten the last one, but it has to do with security service. And I mean, joining the Bank of England is just, I still get overwhelmed by the fact that I'm part of such an institution. But again, reflecting on this and thinking of some things I did deliberately that led me here is something simple like this. So when I came here, remember, I came to do a master's in petroleum and gas engineering. Sorry, in petroleum engineering, because my first degree was in petroleum and gas. On getting here, I realized that the environment here, as far as the energy sector is concerned, is very different to what we have back home. So simply put, as most of you may be aware, this part of the world is heavily moving away from oil and gas and towards more renewable energy sources. And so because I had a desire to stay back in UK on the international scene, I decided to also transition away from petroleum. So energy was still, and is still, my first choice. Energy is still my dream career. But in the spirit of transitioning, I decided to look at what's held in the UK and then tailor myself to adapt. So for example, I was so deliberate that my header or my headline on LinkedIn was showing people what my interest in. This has been like this since sometime last year, telling people that I'm enthusiastic about the intersection between finance, energy, data, and technology. No brainer, I got a job as a data analyst with the Bank of England, although I'm a graduate of petroleum engineering, because I was very deliberate in putting that message out there that, hey, look, this is what I want to do. I've studied engineering, which means I already have analytical aptitude. I got involved in something called Bright Network to gain some technology skills. I was heavily invested in finance, and of course, my background was in energy. And I started putting out that message that this is what I want to do, something that allowed me to tie all this together. And over time, I also developed something. It's a job applications tracker tool. For those of you who took the time to go to my LinkedIn, you may have seen this already. I'll share a bit about this here, but you can always go to my YouTube. There is an explainer video about it. There is a link on how you can get it for free, courtesy of the CP community maybe. So if you don't mind, we'll just take a detour for say 2 minutes. Chidera, can you confirm the screen you can see now is an Excel sheet?
No, you have to change the screen you're sharing.
Okay, great. I think you should see it now.
Yes.
All right, so because I'm keen to get this segment done in, say, before 5:30, 35, I would rush through this. So the idea is simple. In the UK, I mean, not in the UK, everywhere we've heard stories about, oh, I've applied for 400 jobs. Okay, maybe nobody does 400, but 150, 200, whatever. And I felt, or I easily saw that the more I kept on applying for jobs, the more my applications were better. So what that means is subconsciously, I was learning from past applications. And instead of doing that subconsciously, I decided to bring in the planning into personal development. I decided to be deliberate about, itemizing the jobs. Say, for example, so we'll run through one example. Hopefully you can see my mouse moving. Say I was applying to company X. Let's say I've received the final decision. I put in my dates, months and all that here, select the year, say it was 2015. Reference, why this was important was I wanted to see if having a reference with an application would help you. So for example, there was a company I applied to, I had a reference who recommended me to the company, and I got to the very final stage. In fact, I had to pull out from the application because I had already secured a number of offers by then. So yes, references does help. And that's why that column is there. Say for example, I was applying to technology industry, I was applying to a cybersecurity analyst role. I decided to separate something called level of interest into roles. I'm calling my dream role. So for me personally, that would be an energy role. So working with Shell, for example, doing some fantastic energy thing. Preferred roles, that would be something related to data, technology. So this would be a preferred role. There's also secondary roles. So roles I'm open to, maybe a management role in, I don't know, some in the finance maybe, and roles I can apply to as a last resort, maybe a graduate management role in a super chain store or something. So let's assume this was a preferred role. And again, when you come to the UK, you get to learn about our application stages. So for most UK applications, I'm getting the feedback, so someone is unmuted, so please check that. Moving on, when you come to the UK, you quickly realize that there are similar stages for most applications. You have your test, your maybe a first interview, it would be a video recorded interview, you have maybe an assessment center or a final interview, and so on and so forth. Let's assume I go to the final interview here on this day, and I received the feedback, and this was the feedback. I did not have prerequisite knowledge of relevant software. Now, the point of putting this together, the point of planning my personal development, specifically related to my career, maybe securing a job, is so I could take this feedback, this lesson, and apply it to the next technology role I'll be applying to. So it would be easy for me to, if I don't have the prerequisite knowledge of the software that is relevant to that industry or that company or that role, I can go and start learning it, before submitting my application. But one thing I also chose to do, which of course you can do also, is to make it analytical, to get some analytical insights from what I'm doing. So every application you see here, say about 100 applications that were made, they are automatically connected to this pivot table and charts. So here, if I just refresh this, so you can see the data I just entered. So it means 9% of the time I got to the final interview stage, 22% of the time I never got past the application. So there could be something wrong with my CV, my cover letter, my application documents. I see the same information here, but in detail. I would like to explain this, but like I said, there's a video on LinkedIn explaining how you can really maximize using something like this. And this exact tool, which you can see, is available for you to get for free. Go to my LinkedIn, there's a link there, you would see the information there, you can get it. But I would like to return back to our presentation. Sorry, 1 second. So yeah, I was just talking about, the whole securing a job with the Bank of England thing, and maybe I'll speak on this more towards the end of this. Some more things I think help me in terms of getting that job or any job, basically. So now let me share some tools, some actual tools you can use. How are we doing on time? This is 5:30, so we'll spend 5 minutes and then we'll be done. So one thing I found online, which is very useful, is a personal planning tool. And I adapted this from this OPP created by someone called Ben Hanish. So this is exactly what his tool looks like. I've just tailored it to suit me as Promise and whatever my goals are. So the idea is you have this something called the 5 Fs. And according to Vern, these are the 5 key things that he found were the most important to people, especially towards the end of their lives. So when everything is said and done, if you're in a quote unquote rat race, if you are impacting the world around you, if you are doing something cool, whatever it is, according to this guy, towards the end of people's life, most people would agree that the most important things are something he has grouped as the 5 Fs: faith, family, friends, fitness, finance. Anything you think of can fall into any of these categories. Wealth would fall into finance, whatever. Well-being, psychological, physical well-being would fall into fitness, and so on and so forth. And so the idea is to list the most important things you want to achieve when you're doing your personal development planning. So for example, for someone coming to the UK, it could be academics, career, relationships. I've added vibes. For Vern's example, it was, I think, relationship, career, wealth. So feel free. The idea is you can play around with this, look inward, whatever is most important to you. Those are the key top level goals you want to achieve. And in terms of completing the rest of this planner, the idea is when you're thinking about one of those important goals, think about it in terms of these 5 key elements. When you're thinking about your academic goals, your career goals, how does it key in with your long-term aspirations in terms of finance, in terms of your family, in terms of your friends? A married man or a married woman, for example, who has kids, when she's thinking about her career, you can imagine how important things like family would have on the plan she would have. I was speaking to someone in the Bank of England who was very excited in his earlier roles in consultancy, traveling, to secondment jobs where he's in Paris for 6 months. Now he hates it, If they tell him to go on such assignments, it's a problem for him because he's married, he has 2 kids who he wants to be with in the UK. So things like that, that's why it's important to always think about these key goals in terms of these 5 core elements. So how you would go about using this is you put in your top level goals: academics, career, relationships, vibes. This for me. My 1 year aspirations coming into the UK 2019, for example, was say from academics, I want to achieve a distinction. Then I would go to 6-month activities. What would I have to be doing, in 6 months or thereabouts to be able to be progressing towards my 1 year aspiration? Maybe, yeah, I have to be maintaining high grades in my exams because, of course, if I don't get an A or a B now, then when I get to the end, there's absolutely no way I'm getting a distinction. And then what are the little actions I can be doing daily or monthly? Those things I have to start doing and those things I have to stop doing. So I thought to myself, maybe I could start revising after every class. And that sounds like a good idea, but it didn't work for me. And that's why I have it in red here, because it's just very difficult to do, or it was very difficult for me personally to keep up, especially because I had a lot of extracurricular activities going on. For someone who goes to class twice a week, this could be very achievable. Something else I started doing was reviewing past questions, from the moment I landed, saying, oh, this is what my exam is going to be like. So I know, am I focusing on everything? Am I focusing on a specific area? I mean, this is like basic stuff. I don't have any stop item here. But if I go to my career again, you see some of the things I was saying about, okay, in 1 year time, I want to be taking a major step towards transitioning from oil and gas. What are some of the things I expect to have achieved in 6 months? I told myself I want to complete a non-petroleum project. And so for my MSc project, I did something on carbon capture and storage. And that's another conversation about the opportunities that led me to, including working on something in collaboration with Equinor, Shell, Total, and the Norwegian government. So it's that kind of thinking I had early on that made me make that choice when it was presented in front of me. Hey, choose your projects. Because I was already prepared, I went for, that CCS project that led me to those opportunities. Something else I could have been thinking about to achieve in 6 months was to explore, the wider energy, products management, and all that I spoke about. Some actions I started right away: monthly, daily, weekly. The kind of content I started, putting out on my LinkedIn were no longer oil and gas focused content. They were now content that had to do with these places I wanted to go to, be it energy on a wider level, data, tech, and so on and so forth. Again, I stopped, heavy projecting, heavy interest in oil and gas. I'll just talk about one more and then we'll move on, because I imagine you already get the idea of this too. I have a friend, so the one in blue, that's not my experience. I just thought to feature it. And the point is, this tool is not only good for serious things. You can also use it for things like, like I said, vibes. You want to travel. That's a good plan, a 1 year plan. I want to go to 4 countries in Europe. Start planning today. That's the point of personal development planning. So I have a friend who, in terms of relationships, the guy wants to return home for introduction. And he's already thinking about that now. He's currently doing his MSc in the UK. He's already towards the end of his program. And he told me he wants to go home for introduction, way back when he started. And one thing he was already doing, monthly or in 6 months, one thing he wanted to be checking on, maybe quarterly, was to be sure he was saving enough money for this activity, this 1 year aspiration. And some of the things he started right away in order to get to that 1 year aspiration, was to start a part-time job. Me, for example, I didn't work throughout my 1 year of studies. On the one hand, I was fortunate to have a scholarship, but on the other hand, I didn't have any 1 year aspiration that needed me to have some bulk of money saved. That's the truth. But that may not be your own case or your own reality. And for him, part of the things he started in order to achieve his 1 year aspiration, which is still on, was to start a part-time job, something he could have stopped. I just added this from my own thinking, maybe avoidable outing. Maybe if he wasn't, for me, I could eat out 3 times a week. I don't advise you to. Maybe for him, he wouldn't do that, because that does not fit into his 1-year plan. And so that's the idea of this tool. It's about looking at one key goal and then looking at, breaking it down to, okay, in 6 months, this is how much I want to progress. This is what I can do daily to get there. And what this does is it helps you hold yourself, accountable in terms of your daily or your monthly goals. And going deeper, when you take one activity here, so you've put out some monthly, some daily, some weekly actions, the next thing you might want to do is then take that daily or weekly action into something like this. Hopefully you're familiar with what a Gantt chart is, so I wouldn't spend much time here. But it's about taking one activity and really seeing, how you want to do it. I said, yeah, go ahead.
Hold on. Yeah, please, as you know what a Gantt chart is.
Sorry, come again. You're breaking up.
I said, please don't assume we know what a Gantt chart is. Could you just say 1 or 2 words about what it is? Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so as hopefully as it shows here, so the way it works is you have something like this. What this gives you is a bird's eye view. So bird's eye, like a landscape, like you're the God, small letter G, watching over your plan from start to finish. The difference between this and the Gantt chart is the Gantt chart takes these elements here, these monthly, daily, weekly actions only. It doesn't take your achieve a distinction. It takes this broken down actions and makes you accountable in terms of setting real timelines, setting deadlines. Okay, in this example I have on the screen, this person said from week 4, whatever this 4W, this is week 4 of the previous of November, this is week 1 of December. So from the 4th week of November to the 3rd week of December, there is some task this person wants to achieve, and he expects to have completed it in this amount of time. So that's what the Gantt chart does for you. It takes those specific tasks that you've outlined you want to start doing, but instead of just thinking about them or having them on the paper saying, start this or do this, you now have them here. You've set some deadlines that this is how long they would take. If I was planning my projects, for example, which you would do your MSA projects, I would have here, for example, finished project, say May 2015, say my project was this long. The end of my project's completion would be here. I would put in writing my projects here at the bottom column, for example, towards the entire thing. And that's because I don't want to start writing my projects halfway or towards the end. I want to start writing from the beginning. So I would have a bar run from the beginning to the end. I will be writing all through. But aside writing all through, I would put in literature review from this point to this point, for example. So I would have a bar, say somewhere here that says complete literature review between 1st week of this month and 3rd week of this month. I would have do your practical, say it was a practical thing or it was a simulation project to run simulations from here to here. So things can overlap, but the idea is you take those key actions that you've said you want to do, put timelines to them, so that helps you monitor, track, and deliver, hold yourself accountable to what you're supposed to be doing. And one final tool I would share, which I was fortunate to get from Imperial and that helped me with the Imperial Award, is this. And I would explain why I'm sharing this specific one. So this one helped more towards your personal development. And the criteria to win what I said was the Imperial Award was to show that I had gained this attribute. So creativity, innovative approach, effective teamwork, and all these things. And so what I had to do was record every activity I was participating in or every experience I had, and then show Imperial how this experience helped me gain effective team working skills, or how this experience, for example, that will be here, helped me become more independent and open-minded in terms of my thinking, or how I've been able to grow in terms of being a creative thinker, for example. But even if you
Promise.
Yeah,
Sorry to interrupt. I don't know, is there a table beneath this? What we can see is just the header.
Yeah, that's fine. That's what it's supposed to be.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry.
So, that's right. So I mean, I would explain it as clearly as possible, but the reason why you can't see anything under is because I'm hiding the experiences. So basically what's supposed to be under my personal experiences and me completing this table, but I'm showing you the table uncompleted. So in reality, there's supposed to be a table here. You list every activity you do. So for example, while I was president of Imperial, I organized a leadership symposium that was supposed to encourage women to take on leadership roles. It was to celebrate International Women's Day. And so I will list that year as an experience. And I will say, because I had to work with a team to plan that event, I'll come to effective teamwork and explain how I gained communication and active listening, how I was able to maybe motivate my team members to deliver the project, how I was aware of our group dynamics and collaborated well with them, and so on and so forth. But for me, the best use of something like this, of course, I don't know if anybody is in Imperial here or be going for the Imperial Award, is if you can do something like this, which is collate your experiences, collate what skills, it doesn't have to be this one, of course. For Imperial, they gave us the skills. They said, do experiences that will meet these skills. For you, you would do your experiences and then think to yourself, what skills, what attributes, how have I developed from these experiences? And then you list those things out. So if you have something you keep record of coming here to the UK, starting your journey, when it's time to, for example, apply for jobs or apply for anything, you would not find it difficult because you already have those examples of things you did and how you gained some attributes from doing those things. And that's the final tool I wanted to share. I'm so sorry, I expected we'll be done, say 5:30, but this is about 14 minutes past that. But yeah, let's go to questions. Thank you. Over to you, Chidera.
Thank you so much, Promise. That was quite insightful. Even the story you shared and how you were intentional about, making moves for what you wanted, like the WhatsApp groups that you created to exhibit leadership skills. That was very intentional. Wow, I should have done that. Actually, I should have. Okay. Anyway, please, do we have any questions for Promise? You could either raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask, or if you want to drop in the chat, if you don't want to talk, that is fine. Please, do we have any questions? Please ask questions.
And I mean, by the way, if you either don't have questions now, or I mean, you're shy, or you don't think your question is appropriate for this forum. So the purpose of the host clan meeting by the side is you can always reach me on LinkedIn. Check me out on LinkedIn, connect if you want, but even without connecting, send me a message or something and I'll be happy to, help you to the best of my ability. So if you scan this, it takes you directly to my LinkedIn page, basically.
Yeah. So please, any questions? Please let's ask. Let's ask questions. Any questions? No questions?
I mean, everybody gets an early, I don't know, so you get more time for your Saturday if there are no questions.
I'm coming. Sorry, I'm just trying to I'm trying to, okay, I found it. I'm trying to just copy your profile as well. But oh, we have hands raised. Mr. Tolu, please feel free to ask. Go on. Tolu Leke.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Good evening, Chidera and Promise.
Hi.
Thank you very much for having this session. My own is not a question, it's just a comment to thank you. And I think I came in some minutes ago, and with just the few minutes I've spent, it's quite inspiring, and it's interesting that all this knowledge are available for us to learn from those that have gone the path that we're about to go, and hoping that we'll get best. And now a question has come. I want to ask Promise, what role did you think being a student of Imperial College played in the job opportunities that you assessed? If I'm not too wrong, I think Imperial College is one of the top schools in the UK. I'm not too sure about that.
Seventh in the world. Thank you.
Yeah,
Please.
7th in the world. So what role do you think that played compared to someone that is going to
I
probably
understand your
a
question, and I
school
can
that
just
is,
take it away from there if you don't mind. I mean, I
okay,
100%
go
understand your
ahead.
question.
Wait,
Yeah.
Promise.
Okay.
In addition to that, I have a question. The Bank of England role, please shed more light. How did you get that job? Tell us. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. So throughout my job journey, first mistake in terms of getting a job in the UK, you know what? That's not even the first thing I should say. For context, I came in 2019, and so the 2 year thingy did not apply to me. For most of you come in, I mean, you have the 2 years opportunity to get a job, but then I did not have that. My visa expired. My student visa expired March 2021. First mistake I made, I came in September 2019. I applied for some jobs. I got opportunities to apply for through Imperial. And I'm mentioning this because this is where the importance of Imperial comes in. And after this, Imperial does not count for nothing anymore. But as a student of Imperial have what they call industry relationships with the likes of BP, Shell, some nice companies. They come around to our school once in a while, give presentations, take our CVs, and so on and so forth. I made in some applications, and that was it. Aside that, I did not really, put myself out there in the job market in the UK. Maybe I was still dreaming of going back to Shell Nigeria to work or something before, COVID took oil prices to negative for the first time. But anyway, why I'm mentioning that is, this is, I think, fact, but again, do not take it as fact because it's just my experience. I never went through any application where I think Imperial had a huge or had any impact whatsoever. Bank of England specifically, some people don't still know. I spoke to the head of my division who was trying to welcome me, and she didn't even know I attended Imperial. And that's how it is for the UK, I think. In Bank of England specifically, you would not even see people like Imperial there. That's the truth. There are a lot of roles, a lot of jobs. The juiciest quote and unquote jobs in the UK, you would not see the Imperials, the Oxfords, and the Cambridge, because those people from quote and unquote Russell Group schools, they tend to be quite maybe academic-y or nerdy. There are some kind of jobs, I don't know, you tend to see a lot of Imperial people. Go on LinkedIn, search Imperial, you would see them there. And the point is, these opportunities, they are very clear and open about their requirements. And unlike, say, back home, they have to be transparent about things. So they are very clear about, say, what you need. They would never ask you for a distinction or a 2-1, for example. Some would ask for a 2-1, but they'll be very transparent about it. Some would ask for your A levels or your UCAS points. If you're converting your WIAC, they'll be very clear about it. But none of my offers. So I was able to secure an offer with a company called Klarna. Klarna is the biggest fintech, I don't want to say in the world, but I mean, they just became a decacorn. So over 40-something billion now, just a fundraising they just went through. Klarna offered me a job, offered to sponsor my visa. It was a commercial stakeholder role, where I was supposed to be a stakeholder. Imperial Petroleum Engineering had nothing to do with that. KPMG UK offered me a role in technology analytics in Manchester. Imperial Petroleum Engineering had nothing to do with that. I got a role with an asset management company. Again, that's purely finance and some, analytics too. Again, Imperial had absolutely nothing to do with that. I pulled out from so many applications, Accenture, Baringa. Not once did my university ever come up. Maybe they saw it on my application form, but to the best of my knowledge, I'll be honest with you. Go on LinkedIn, do your research. You see people announcing, hey, I just got this job. You won't find most of them in Russell Group schools.
Thank you so much for that. Somebody put in the chat that I was laughing. I say, only you? Okay, so I feel like there's something you're not telling us, Promise. Spill the tea. Okay. So for the job with Bank of England, did you apply like a general application or did you get a referral? Did someone refer you for the job?
Okay, no, I didn't. So I've gotten only one referral for a job, which was in my sector in energy. And it's the job, I said I had to pull out from because my visa thing became dicey and the Bank of England already sponsored my visa. I had to pull out from Accenture. I had to pull out from the reference job thingy. So the Bank of England thing, I joined their graduates entry route, which is a very, I don't know if it's popular because apparently most people actually miss this. Maybe it's not popular and I'm just
I don't
assuming
think
it
it
is.
is. Mm.
Okay, so maybe it isn't. So the easiest way to get a job in the UK for international candidates, okay, I don't say it's the easiest, maybe that's relative, but it's a graduate program. And why I'm calling it the easiest is when you are joining as maybe an experienced hire or a one-off, they just want to employ you for you, the scrutiny is on you. So there are a lot of factors go into, does the company sponsor visas? Do they not sponsor visas? Even if officially they sponsor visas, if they don't want to sponsor you, then they may not sponsor you. But when you're joining a graduate cohort, a graduate program, most organizations that do graduate programs, they are employing 50, 60, 100, 40 at a time. They want to employ a diverse group of people intentionally. So they want to have whites, blacks. This is a safe space to say it as it is, I believe, So it's okay to even leverage on that. So they want to be diverse in their recruitment pool. They like it when they say people from different backgrounds, petroleum engineering or whatever engineering, media. And when you see most graduate jobs, they don't limit you based on what you study. You see someone in social care joining Accenture in a consulting role. And if we spend some time thinking, I can tell you, if you tell me what you learn in social care, I'll tell you how your skills apply to Accenture or KPMG. I did petroleum engineering. There's a company called AON. It's one of the biggest insurance companies in the world. They wanted to bring me in for their risk management program. How do I fit into risk? I've done some risk analysis in school, but the risk analysis I did were about drilling oil wells. And they believe, you know what, you have the aptitude to come join us. All we have to do is take your insurance. So that's what you get when you're joining a graduate program. It doesn't matter what you've studied. Most times it doesn't matter what grades you have. If it does, they would be very open about it that here we are looking for 2-1. Nobody is looking for a distinction. Distinction is for you and your family to celebrate that my son got a distinction. There is absolutely no job in the UK you would apply to that your distinction will put you above the next person. That's my reality and that's my fact, and I have a distinction. You can take it from me or do whatever you want with it. Distinction is for your prestige. And so why a graduate route, I believe, offers, a wider opportunity for people is it's a level playing field. The scrutiny is not on you for the first 1, 2, 3 stages. Nobody even knows who you are because the computer is looking at your form and saying, okay, you meet the criteria. They send you automatically some tests to take. You take your test, the computer is marking you along with everybody else. You maybe submit a video interview. For most companies, they would have someone look at them. For some companies, they would still have a computer, take out some, text, speech to text, AI thingy to fish out the people they want to progress to the next round before you eventually interact with someone. And so I always preach graduate route. And that was how I got the Bank of England job, basically. Applying as a graduate, tests, video interview, assessment center, and then getting the job.
Interesting. So I just have okay, let me just go on. I have 2 more questions. You said your visa expired in March, in it. How did you stay in the UK till now before getting this job? Because you just got this job, in it. So
Yeah.
what kept you in the UK between March and July or June?
Yeah.
Where are we? We're in July. I don't know. Yes.
Whatever you do, please do not overstay your visa. But anyway, you guys don't have that to worry about because there's the 2 years thing, and hopefully, everybody gets sorted out in those 2 years, whatever your plans are anyway, if you're staying back. So for me, another thing to note about graduate jobs, and I don't think this is just about graduate jobs. Most jobs will tell you the recruitment span. So if you are joining a job where it's just you're applying for a specific role, they will tell you when the start date is, or they'll give you an idea of when they think they might conduct interviews and so on and so forth. But most graduate jobs, people know it takes 1 year. And it doesn't take 1 year exactly, but what the 1 year means is from application to starting. So if you come into the UK, and that's why the advice is once you come into the UK, start applying for jobs. You know, you come into the UK September 2021, and you'll be done with your program in 1 year, and you want to have a job immediately you're done with your program, you have to apply in this current recruitment round, which would be from September to December for some companies, January. So September to December 2021 up to January 2022. If you don't apply in this period, then you'll be looking at starting in 2023, right? So the point is, you apply now, September to December, and between now and September next year, 2022, the company would send you, the whole test thing. You would do video interviews. For some people, there are 2 interview rounds. You would do something called an assessment center. We can dive into all this and what each of them entail later, or personally or privately, whatever. But you go through these stages within, say, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, depending on the company. And then your start date will almost always be when you applied, which is September this year. So Bank of England, for me, for example, I did the whole application in November, tests, video interview. I did my final stage, which is the assessment center, in January 2021. Remember, I applied in 2020. I got the offer very early in February. So that was my earliest offer, the earliest offer I got. And I was supposed to start in September 2021. Now, under normal circumstances, I would join my graduates who are joining in September 2021. But because my visa was expiring in March 2021, and the company were kind enough to want to sponsor my visa to keep me in the UK, and the UK has a law that says a company can only sponsor international candidates 3 months before their start dates. The Bank of England decided to count 3 months from when my visa would expire, which is, April, May, June, and then give me a new start date in June. And so by doing that, they were able to sponsor my visa in March, if the mathematics makes sense. So got the offer in February. I'm supposed to start September. 3 months before September is what, July, but my visa expires in March. So if the Bank of England wanted to keep me, within their scheme, they had to do something about it. They had to sponsor me from Nigeria in July to come join them in September, or they took the other option, which is give me an earlier start date in June, so they could sponsor my visa in March. And once they've sponsored my visa in March, until the result is out, I couldn't leave the UK, legally. So visa application in March, April, May, June, I was supposed to start, but whatever happened, I started in July, or I started this month. So I hope that answers your question there.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much for that. Fumi, you had your hand up before. Do you still want to ask your question? Or does any other person have a question? Ask Promise.
Hi, Chidera. Hi, Promise. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Yes, so it wasn't really a question. I put it down because Tolu that spoke before me just said what I wanted to say. So I think we're not asking questions because Promise has said, okay, let me speak for myself. Promise has said a lot of things that I really need to go and digest, I'm seeing a lot of determination and following up with, because it's one thing to make a plan, is another thing to stick with it. So that's my own take home. I can plan for Africa, I know that, but the problem is sticking to the plan or doing what I said I would do. And, it has, with what Promise has said, it has shown over and over again that if you stick to it, it's a matter of time, you will get it done. I also like the fact that, he didn't just plan, but he also broke it down into very achievable, very achievable activities, or whatever, for lack of a better word. So that's my take home. I'm inspired, a little bit intimidated, even though I know that's not the plan, but I'm actually very inspired. Thank you so much, Promise. Thank you, Chidera, for bringing him as well.
Thank you so much, Fumi. Okay, so before, as we just go along, put a form in the chat, please. It's facilitator feedback. It will take less than a minute to fill it, so we just give feedback on the session on the form, just so we can have that for our records, please. Okay, Tolu, your hand is up. Is it up now, or I don't know? Is it a new question?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Okay. once again, thank you. I'd like to ask, Promise, you talked about you transition, knowing fully well that the world was moving away from the energy that you were coming in. And my own question is, in the UK, can you change course? Because I think I'm going to be in that shoes. The truth was that the course I offered now is really not what I wanted, but I'm just accepting it. Let me just get in first and find a way around it. Is it doable in a UK university?
So I think that's a very relative question, and it will depend on so many factors. Your uni, your uni, the program. Speaking from personal experience, in my course, in my cohorts in Imperial 2019-2020, I had a friend who was in chemical, who was employed, in fact, via the Chevening scholarship to chemical engineering. And then along the way, he joined us in petroleum in the first month or in the first 2 months. And some of the factors that helped that happen is, one, yes, they were open to making that change. Two, he had the funds. So in your case, if you're a self-sponsored student and you can pay the fees, that's fine. In his own case, Chevening were very fine paying whatever the difference is between chemical engineering and petroleum was. That's two. Three, we had an opening on our cohort. So most schools here, they have maybe a size. It depends on your school, it depends on the course. For my course, we had a size of class, that they were looking to have, but someone pulled out from the course. So we had an opening in the course and things just worked out for this person. So there was space, he wanted to move, there was the funds, the stars just kind of aligned for him. So I don't know what the generic rules are. It's very possible, but I think it will be relative to whatever your case would be. But what I would say though is, by all means, explore it. So it's a huge thing in the United States. I don't know very much about the UK, where people get admission, they go to the US. But just because of the opportunities in the US, you see a lot of people transition into either tech studies that have to do with tech roles or medicine. And that's just because there are loads of opportunities in those two areas over there. So what I would say is, on the one hand, by all means, I encourage you to explore what your options are. But on the second, on the other hand, if that does not happen, I don't think, like I was saying, regardless of what you studied, I don't think that would hinder you. It could pilot you or open you to some more opportunities, but regardless of what you already have admission for, feel free to connect with me after now. But I genuinely don't think that would stop you from, say, getting a defense job, as long as it's a job that doesn't have any limitation on what you've studied.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all for now.
Okay. Promise, my very last question. I don't know. I think I'm the one just asking questions. So regards LinkedIn, do you think LinkedIn plays a role? Like, do you have any advice or best practices for LinkedIn? Because I feel like that's your major social media platform.
Yep. So some people have gotten jobs through LinkedIn directly, and I envy them. God bless their hearts. I would not say I've gotten a job from LinkedIn directly, but LinkedIn has played a part in every job application I ever made. So, I mean, I do run a consulting service for jobs in the UK, but this is one of the information I would give you, which may have come under a paid information. But there is this thing I do which has worked. I want to say every time, but maybe every time. There is no job I'll be applying to in the UK that I'm interested in. So, there are some jobs you just apply to, just count the numbers, right? There's no job I'm really interested in that I think I have a chance for, that I would not, that I would not get in touch with someone on LinkedIn. And the reason why I do it is this, and it's a very strategic exercise. I don't go on LinkedIn to say, hey, please, I'm applying for a job. Can you help me? Please don't ever do that. So I go with one of two reasons, and one very easy one that makes every sense is, I look for someone, and my targets are always, if it's a graduate scheme, people related to the graduate scheme recruitment. So their titles would be like early starts career, something, something, or graduate career, something, something in, say, HSBC, for example. I would specifically go on LinkedIn, search for people like that, search in that company, try to connect with every one of them I see. For most of them, not even for most of them, for every one of them, when I'm connecting, I do this thing where I use my computer so I can send in a personal note. You can do that with your phone too if you know how to, but it's not automatic like it is with your computer. So you try to connect with them, you send a personal notes. And in 300 characters or less, I basically say, hey, I'm applying to a technology analytics role in your company. I'm currently anticipating to move on to the assessment center stage. While preparing, I wanted to find out X and Y about X and Y. I go look for some brilliant questions. There are some questions that are brilliant questions. And when you start attending job interviews, you would develop this attitude of creating questions to ask companies, because people get jobs based on questions they ask. Take it or leave it. So I go formulate some very brilliant key questions that make sense, and then go on their LinkedIn as though, hey, I'm just trying to find out what I can do about this or blah, blah, blah to enhance my preparation. Whether they respond to me or not is not the point. The point is I want to register my name, the role I'm applying to, and the stage I'm at in their subconscious. As long as they see my message, that's a win for me. And I'll give you one real life example. I attended an HSBC event. Someone else, say Miss A, presented during that event, and she spoke about the leader of her recruitment team, or one of the leaders, Miss B. I went on LinkedIn to look for Miss B after I had gotten to the stage before the final stage for HSBC. And I said, hey, Miss B, I learned about you when I attended X careers events. That's a good opener because I'm showing the person that, hey, look, I'm interested in your company and in this role to the extent that I attended an event for it. Okay, maybe that gets our attention. I'm now, keen to be progressed to X and X stage. In the meantime, while preparing, I wanted to ask you if you have any guidance on how I could enhance my application. Anything, I would appreciate any information really beyond what already exists on your websites. And she got back to me. She said, okay, I advise you do X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. That's fine. I don't really care. Like I said, register my name, the role I'm applying to, and all that important information in that subconscious. When it was time to move on to the next round, on her own, without me reaching out to this person, she sent me a message saying, can you confirm if you've gotten, an invitation to the next round? I'm telling you, I have the chat on my LinkedIn. I think I've shared it on Facebook or something before. The person reached out to me. I told the person I hadn't received an invitation, and this person started pursuing my application. She was interested in me being progressed to the next round until she found out that I was not progressed because I had 4 Bs in my WAEC and they needed 5 Bs and above, so 5 Bs, As and above. And she got back to me to give me that information that she has asked around. And the reason why the team did not progress me is because, they were looking for more than 5 Bs and above, and I have 4 Bs. Now, when HSBC sent me a rejection email, they didn't even tell me that. All they did was, sorry, we are not progressing you. But I already had that information from her because we already had our thing going on LinkedIn. So to answer your question, Fidera, in a very long, I know I've been at it for a while, but LinkedIn could give you a job directly. The application I said I pulled out from that I had a reference for was from LinkedIn. I went on LinkedIn, sent the same message to 5 people. I'm applying to this role. Could you spend me some time to chat about? I had good questions I had developed, to pique their interest. One person caught the dates, reached out to me. We had a meeting. I asked him those questions and we became close. And when I was applying, I said, hi, do you mind? Can I use your name as my referral? Because of how I've, maybe the character, the way I conversed with him, he saw me as a well put together guy, and he was fine vouching for me, and he became, my reference for that application. So some people may have gotten a job directly, apply on LinkedIn, someone reached out to them. People have offered me jobs on LinkedIn, but not jobs I want, maybe sales, marketing, all those things. Yeah, so people will get jobs directly, but there are so many things you can also use LinkedIn to do that would indirectly or in one way help you get a job, I believe. Over to you, Chidera.
Okay, thank you so much for that promise. So yeah, I think we'll end the session here. I feel like you've been talking for a long time. Tolu, is your hand up again, or is it from previous?
No, my hand is not up. It's
Okay.
previous.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your time, Promise. It's been such an insightful session. So yeah, thank you so much. Have a lovely rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Chidera and CP community for having me. Again, I can't, I don't know, whatever your fan base is called, they should, like Rema, Ravers, Whiskey FC, they should add me to your fan base. So I really admire what you do, and I hope this group of people really admire and appreciate and take advantage or taking advantage fully of what you're doing, because it's amazing. So yeah, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for having me. And for the participants, thank you for sharing, I don't know, 1 hour plus on this session rather than resting on your Saturday. And I genuinely hope it's been valuable to you. All the best.
Thank you. Bye, Promise. Hello, everybody. Please, if you haven't filled the form, kindly help us do that, like the feedback form. It literally takes less than a minute. Just let us know your thoughts on the session, just so we know what works and what doesn't. So please take time out, just help us fill the form. The form is in the chat. If you click the link, it will open up and then you can do that. Thank you so much. Other than that, please feel free to log off. Have a lovely rest of your evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. Bye, everybody.